Okay, Active Math 2, exercise 1.3, question 12. 35 people had been to America and were questioned on where they had been out of New York, Boston and San Francisco. 20 had visited New York, 13 had visited Boston, 16 had visited San Francisco, and 7 had been to all 3 cities. 3 had been to New York and San Fran but not Boston. 1 had been to both New York and Boston but not San Francisco. And 8 had been to Boston and San Francisco. That includes those people who had also been to New York. So Boston and San Francisco is this section here, and we take the 7 away from the 8 to get 1 remainder. Now that's not us finished. We've still got 4 sections we don't know anything about, but we can work it out. We have a situation where New York, there were 20 people in total, of which 11 went elsewhere. So by doing a sum of 20 minus 11 will get us New York only. For Boston only, again, we simply take 13, and from that we take away this 9 that's here. So 13 minus 9 is 4. And lastly, San Francisco only, we have 16 in total, from which we take 11. So 16 minus 11 is 5. Lastly, to find out how many people didn't go to any of these 3 cities, we have to say, well, there's a total of 35 people asked. If we add up these 7 numbers here and take it away from 35, we're left with how many people didn't go to these 3 cities. So none of these is going to be 35 minus these 7 numbers. Now obviously again you can make life easier by saying, oh, that's 20, and then we add up these as well, so there's a further 10, which makes 30 in total. Or you could sit there and just write the entire thing out of every single number if you wanted to, but that wouldn't be my preferred choice. I'd prefer just to say, well, there's 20 and there's the further 4 and 1 and 5, which makes 30. So those people who didn't go to anywhere is 5. So we have all our sections covered, and we now want to go through the 3 questions that have been given us. So if one person is chosen at random from a group, what's the probability that the person had not visited any of the 3 cities? Well, we've already worked that out. It's 5 out of the total of 35. So basically the probability, so we're talking about anyone who didn't go to New York, Boston and San Francisco, so that's the complement of those, the union. That's 5 out of 35, and that can be reduced down to 1 out of 7. Part 3. If one person is chosen at random, what's the probability that the person had visited New York only? Well, that's the 9 out of 35. So probability of New York, and from that we are taking away anyone who went to Boston or San Francisco. And that's 9 out of 35. And lastly, the last question, if one person is chosen at random, what's the probability the person had visited Boston or New York? Now, or is union, so Boston or New York is this group here. So it's basically 20 plus 5, making a total of 25. 25 people to New York or Boston. So Boston or New York is going to be, as I said, it was 25 out of 35. And again, that can be reduced down to 5 out of 7.